Good evening, I'm Fred Jones and we're here with Esther Davis at the Esther Davis Show. Now, the setting here is a little bit unusual for us tonight. We're here actually in sunny South Dallas with the RBCA, which is the Regional Black Contractors Association, right in their headquarters right down here, as I said, right in the midst of sunny South Dallas on Martin Luther King Boulevard. And so when you come down here, you will not miss it because it is a great facility, a great building. And before we get into why we're actually here, and I introduce this gentleman on my left to you, who you're going to be very interested in hearing about. This General Richard Dix. We're going to ask Zarius if he will give us a little insight on what the Regional Black Contractors Association is all about and what they're doing.
All right, thank you for that. What your audience probably will be interested to know is that we're right on the corner, right down the street at the light. That's Malcolm X and MLK. It's only a couple of cities in the state, in the United States, that actually cross section, and we happen to be one of the strongest contracting unions in the region. So, Regional Black Contractors Association, RBCA, what we do is our mission is to advocate and fight for African American firms, primarily in the construction industry. We actually, our members consist of over 150 different types of black-owned businesses, from consulting, engineering, any kind of STEM firms, landscaping, major contractors, GC, and we advocate for our African American firms to be recognized as GCs. A couple of the services that we're doing is we work on procurement, training. We pay a high attention to reentry of our reentry programs, and that's including veterans as well as nonviolent ex-offenders. Right now we have a couple of programs where we work with the procurement for our larger firms to make sure that they are getting adequate and meaningful work in public and private sector. Yeah, that's us in a nutshell. And I guess just a little bit more about our background is RBCA has been in existence for 14 years now. It was the Black Contractors Association. Now we're the Regional Black Contractors Association.
You just kind of expanded that out.
Exactly, and to expand our brand. So we don't just, this is a one-stop shop. We don't just work with contractors in the region, but we go to the East Coast, West Coast, wherever our general contractors are in the country, and we make sure that that we can serve them as well. So
Good. How long have you been with the company?
Tell us
a little bit about you.
Well, a little bit about me, my background. Grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been in Texas for about 4 years. I got my undergrad in integrated studies at Georgia State University. Graduated from UT Arlington with my master's in executive marketing. Management, I apologize. And right now I'm a student at SMU studying international policy. I've been on the board of directors with RBCA. I'm in my first term as a board member, and they actually brought me in to help with some of the operations. And so I'm the director of industry partnerships and community partnerships. So I manage all of our contractors, all of our contracts with industry partners, and kind of structure what our training program will look like. And also I work with a couple of other, chambers of commerce. I'm a senior fellow at the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce and a board of directors member at the Dallas Black Chamber of Commerce as well.
As you can see, this is not a joke. And as we get towards the end, we're going to bring in John Proctor, who is the brainchild and who's the founder. And he's making this whole ship sail smoothly across these rough edges of these rough oceans, which also transcends us right into General Richard Dix. This is his second appearance in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, that I know of.
Yes.
And he came last year, and he has a unique vision, a unique concept on how he wants to make sure that the black community, our community, is more self-reliant, self-sufficient, and that we get things together. And that's why we're here in this particular office. So without any further ado, I want to introduce the viewing audience to General Richard Dix. And tell me, this is your second time coming and to Dallas. And so from the first time that you came, would you give us a little bit of background of why you wanted to come to Dallas, what you see is the reason why you should be here in Dallas, and what are some of the things moving forward that you would like to try and integrate as far as your vision goes for how we can make that community that we're trying to build?
Okay, so why am I in Dallas? I'm here in Dallas to fulfill a promise that was made back in 2006. when we were sitting in the deserts of Afghanistan, and we were talking about the need for more involvement and more giving back or paying it forward in our community. And we were talking about giving a voice to the community, but more importantly, giving a voice to the youth of the community, who are the future, and focusing on the youth and building the bench and preparing them for future service in our communities, but more importantly, worldwide, because you just don't stay in your local community. You go out and you absorb, and then you come back and you make your community even stronger. So I'm a big advocate of exposure of our community to the international world, so they can gain insight. So I'm keeping a promise, and I came last year in August for the first time, and promised that I would come back and continue. And what I'm bringing to the table is helping your community with the team of teams concept. And that's where you take different skill sets of various teams that are within this community, and you bring them together under one flagship, and you make them stronger as they can take those skills that each other team brings to the table, and they can promote growth, and they can get after some of those tough problems inside of the communities that we want to address. And we've always been a community or a nation that has been willing to help ourselves. So this is no different. Everything that we're experiencing right now in every community within this country, we've experienced it before. Everything happens in a cycle. And if you remember the history, and you can take the history and then apply those lessons learned, then you can solve any of those problems that are coming up nowadays. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking the lessons from the past, the village concept, and bringing that construct back to our community and promoting the village, helping the village grow and become even stronger by being a village of one.
And let me just say this, if I may share with the audience, that this gentleman battled cancer while he was here the first time, that we did not know about. And I want you to share that with how that has helped you to maintain this level of commitment even during your own particular struggles.
Well, I'm a faith-based Christian that believes that God has a purpose. And once you know that and understand that purpose, and you maintain that faith, there's nothing that you can't overcome or accomplish. And I'm a firm believer that I've been blessed with a lot. And I know in my teachings and being raised in the community that I was raised in, is that when you're given a lot is expected. And we expect you to come back to the community and give back. And whether that's South Dallas, Dallas proper, or Atlanta, Georgia, where Zaris and I grew up, you never forget where you came from. You always reach back and you give back. And then you challenge those behind you to go to even greater heights. And that's what this is all about.
So from the first time that you were here to this second time that you're here today, what have you noticed has been consistent, or what do you think we need to, what directions has your directions or your strategy changed any or altered a little bit between the two visits as to how we're going to get this done?
Well, I think the strategy stays the same.
Okay.
We use a team-to-team approach, and we come together on one accord, and that is to give back and strengthen our local community. More importantly, to inculcate into the youth of these communities that there's nothing that you can't do. But the one thing that you got to hold to is that you got to put God first.
Right.
Because with Him, there's nothing that you can't overcome. So what I learned and what I've been observing is that the message is received and it's wanted. I talked to some 6th and 7th graders at the international school earlier today. And I explained to the students that I was up at 4 o'clock, on my way, flew in, changed clothes, came right to them, and my goal was to talk to them about what they want to do, introduce the 5-year plan to them, and then open up their minds to the possibilities that they can be exposed to. And with a structured plan, we can develop a plan several courses of action to choose from. That if plan A doesn't work, you go to plan B. If plan B doesn't work, you go to plan C. The goal is you just don't quit and you don't give up. Now, that's the same thing for the adults in the community, you know, because when you get knocked down, at some point in time, you get tired of trying to get back up. My message is real simple. It is paramount that you get back up. It's paramount that you can't forget where you came from. And it's paramount that you hold to your faith. And if you really believe that your faith will see you through any tough time, then you got to gravitate, and you got to gravitate to the message. Now, I don't come from South Dallas. I come from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm preaching the same thing in Atlanta, Georgia that I'm preaching here in South Dallas. I just happen to be here. The people in Georgia want to know why I'm coming to Dallas. The people in Dallas want to know why I ain't in Atlanta. You know, the message is still the same.
It's all related.
You know, yeah.
It's all related.
You know, they need to see positive role models. They need to see somebody that looks like them. But more importantly, they need somebody to challenge them and then hold them accountable. That's the one thing that's missing. You know, we're not holding them accountable.
One thing that I saw what you did today, you had a desire that you wanted to see some seniors. You wanted to meet some senior citizens. Why was that an important part of this process?
Well, another part of the triad that we're working is we've been noticing through some research that GSR High School Hype has done. About 85% of grandparents raising grandkids right now in this area, in this state. And whether it's through military deployments and personnel downrange, or whether it's, you know, any other inevitable that's happening, you got a lot of grandparents out there. And the one thing that I noticed during the trip today is that there is an information gap or a knowledge gap for some of those grandparents that we in our generation and the generation behind us, they're computer savvy. They know how to go onto the internet and find what they need. So we've got to assist the grandparents and make it a little bit easier for them, but we also got to give them some help and get those mentors out there to help them out.
Darius, let me come back to you. You mentioned about the ex-offenders and the veterans. Why is that important for the Regional Black Contractors Association to focus in on those two primal groups?
Well, so like the general was speaking about, we've noticed for a couple of decades now. I say for the last two decades, going on 3, that mass incarceration has been a huge issue in our communities, and that is one component of why there are so many fatherless homes, and you know that, and the war on drugs as well. So that's why the numbers you see of so many grandparents raising kids these days. But another component of that is that when you have areas such as South Dallas, see, being from Atlanta, the general lot, we know what Black excellence look like because we see it in our cities in the area that we grew up. But in areas like this, it's not always seen. So there aren't a whole lot of opportunities out there, and we also recognize the fact that not everyone is college material. Not every child of color or just kids in general growing up are just gonna gravitate and be scholars. That's just not the case. But some of them can build buildings. Some of them understand science. Some of them understand technology, and a lot of them are far more technically advanced. So if they're getting in trouble, we want to make sure they have an alternative. If something happened, for instance, we know one of the things we know is that while African American kids smoke marijuana at the same rates as white kids, we know that there are 60% more of African American kids get locked up for these nonviolent offenses. Ruins their life, ruin their record. They have to check the box, the ballot box. Making that admission. Exactly. So we want to make sure. Exactly. So we want to make sure that even if they don't get an opportunity to get some of the federal funding or anything to go to a community college and things like that, we want to retrain them so they can get into the workforce. So all of our industry partners, it's a requirement from our with the RBCA. Any of our industry partners, it's a requirement that they are open to it, and we also with the solicitation, we send out a commitment to hire because we do the training and recruitment as well as the procurement piece of it as well. So for our BCA to work on your behalf, you are required to make sure that you give those opportunities to those.
Knowledge is power. That's just the bottom line, and you have just witnessed right here today two powerful entities that are going to bridge themselves together. For the last couple of minutes, I want to bring up a couple of people here. I need to bring up Mr. J.P. John Proctor. John Proctor, come on.
Sit down, John. No, I'm right here, sir.
Esther Davis. William Michael. Come on up here, Will. Come up here, Will. John Proctor, tell us real quick. You got to, you're a 30-second man. You can do this. What's going on with you? What's going on with you? How you see this?
That is a deep question. So many things going on with it. What's going on with the RBCA is like Zeri said. Our whole concept around here is to know what we are, accept what we are, then do something about what we are. They have to come in that order. But what we have found through our due diligence of daily operations right here, that we ain't got no friend. We ain't our friend. Old folks ain't our friend. And we do more damage to ourselves than anybody else. When we challenge this thing every day I get up, I want them to say, he got up again.
Indeed.
That's what I want to be said, he got up again. Because I get up every day and I'm saying, what is the arithmetic? What's the arithmetic? And the arithmetic don't look good for us. And what we are, we got more black people in power than we ever had before. And we're looking terrible under their leadership. So we cannot let them off the hook. We have to tell them, and I do, because I need absolutely nothing from them, that you are neglecting us. And we are allowing you to neglect us. Because we have to allow them. Because I'm a boy that firmly believes that if I ain't got it, I ain't asked God for it. If I ain't got it, I ain't asked God.
That's good.
I have to go there and ask. I have to go to these places, and when I get in these places, I'm very conscientious. What do I say to Papa? Do I get in there and get to laughing and grinning and scratching and itching and dancing? I ain't doing none of that. I'm in there dealing with one thing. We're dealing with the arithmetic and we're dealing with the history. That is what they don't want to hear and make them very uncomfortable. But that is what gets us to where we want to go. Because we got to come to some acceptance. The city of Dallas firmly believes its unemployment rate is 4%. Firmly believe that. Our unemployment rate in the black neighborhood is over 30%. Our estimate is south of 30, a part of Dallas. He said yes. I said, by the time I start acting like it. I just left Fort Worth right now. With the man Fort Worth. Stop 6. Part of Fort Worth?
It is.
Yes, it is. Why it look like that and it look like that? I'm going to tell you, we have the opportunity to do whatever we want to do for ourselves today. And I'm telling you, I have not seen this in my life where I see the doors is wide open. We have to make the choice. We have to handle the consequences that come with it. and say one thing. I ain't gonna be left out no more.
Yes, okay.
Will, you have about, my apologies, we're gonna get you, because once we're rolling this, you come back. But Will, just real quick, give me a quick breakdown of what's going on with you, how you're affiliated with the General, and then we have to kind of wrap this up, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Proctor for inviting me out here. I'd like to thank General Dix for coming out, you know what I'm saying, on this event. What we're doing right now, we're putting together a grandparents raising grandkids event, because we all know that, like General Dix was saying, 85% of the grandparents, not in the state of Texas, that's in the United States. I did research on the 27 million grandparents out there, 22 million of them are raising grandkids. So I think that's some stats for you. Why are grandparents raising grandkids? Why? So what we like to do is we like to put together an event where getting grandparents, let's say thank you. Let's say thank you to the grandparents that are raising grandkids. Because if it wasn't for them, a lot of these kids be caught up in the system. So what we like to do, I've talked to Ms. Davis, and what we like to do is take some of the money, because a lot of them can't afford attorneys to adapt them. So a lot of the stuff that is out there that we like to do, and we can't do it by ourselves. We need help. So any type of sponsors, donation, or anything that we can get, we can surely use it, because we don't want to charge the grandparents nothing, because they did enough in their life. A lot of these grandparents are making what, $1,900 a month and raising 2 or 3 kids. I can't see myself at 65 years old raising my grandkids, 18 and 19 years old, and I'm making $2,500. $1,900 is impossible, and still get them up, go to school, and have the kids smiling. So that's one of the biggest things that me and General Dix is working on, and I'm glad that he came out. I'm glad that Mr. Proctor, and also too, how I met General Dix, and and I'm winding down. Me and General Dix were assigned. I worked for General Dix in Afghanistan. I worked for General Dix in Iraq. So there's a lot of familiarization that I have with General Dix. So that makes sense. I see his character. So it's a blessing for me, for him to see what he see in me, to have me, work side by side with him. So that's one of the big things. And Mr. Proctor had me sit next to him as far as our BCA. It's a blessing for me, and it's a nice challenge. Okay.
Okay, nothing else to be said. We're not finished. You will be coming back. You'll be getting more and more information as we proceed further and further ahead. I want to especially again thank John Proctor for you having us here, for the meal that you provided for us here at RBC. Martin Luther King / Malcolm X. We got to make sure we get that. I also want to extend a great warm appreciation for you, General Dix, for keeping your word and your promise and coming back. I'm Fred Jones with the Ester Davis Show. We'll be back. That's all I got to tell you.
Thank you.